Have you ever played a game that gives you this amazing feeling? Yes! Yes! Well, that's the first Berserker Khazan for you, and in this video I'm going to be detailing all of my favourite bosses throughout the whole main story of the game. No side bosses in this video. If you guys want another video for that, let me know, but let's get into it. First up on the list is Rankus. He is probably the one that I hate the most in this game, and in this game I don't really hate any of the bosses. Even one of the ones later on, you'll see I really enjoyed that fight, even though it took me a while. Rankus, he just feels like he's a little bit unfair. He has a lot of health, but I know a lot of people have complained that a lot of the bosses have a lot of health. It's more to do with his really delayed attacks and his stamina that just constantly regens even if you're attacking him. It is very weird to deal with the greatsword, and I did the greatsword throughout this entire playthrough. He is really annoying when he starts using fire, because he'll do really instant attacks that build your fire meter. If you brink guard, you're still going to get the fire build up, and then he'll just start swinging around and hurting you. Took me a lot longer than it should have done to kill him, but in my opinion he's probably the worst boss in this entire game, and every other boss is pretty much perfect in my opinion. Just after Rankus in the rankings, funnily enough, is Aratra, which is the obligatory spider boss in this game. This boss only took me 2 attempts, and it probably would have only taken me 1 if I wasn't pissing around and not realising the venom build-up. But with this boss, very easy boss, and this is actually a decent chunk into the game. I totally forgot this boss was even here when I was doing my second playthrough. I was like, oh yeah, there's a spider boss in this game, because clearly it's just one of those bosses that's designed to give you like a break from all the other crazy bosses, and the fact that you can break its limbs is a really cool addition. This is something that I figured out later with other bosses, that there is certain things you can break on them. So for example, Yatuga, you can break the ice on its back. With Viper, you can break its horns and things like that. There's a lot of bosses that have actual breakable things on their body, but you don't actually realize they have those breakable things until you maybe do it by accident or you find them later on. So this boss is a good teaching boss for those sort of things, but it's a very easy boss, and it's totally forgettable in my opinion, because I actually forgot about it in my second playthrough. Next on the list is Volbino. He's only this high just because he was very difficult for me, and he's not really interesting in terms of his like design and his attacks. All he does is really light up his little nail that he has and inflicts fire damage to you, and he does a lot of attacks like this which have a really big hitbox, so that kind of annoyed me when I was fighting him. But in terms of like overall gameplay, he pretty much teaches you how to play the game when you get to him, even though he is a little bit further into the game. When you fight him, he basically teaches you how to brink block, how to dodge, how to counterattack the red symbols that come up. And I got really good at doing that against other bosses because of Volbino. And he did take me probably a lot longer than he should have, just because of all the fire build-up. Even when you brink guard, you will still take the fire build-up, and that really messed me up. Pretty much most of my deaths were because of that. Other than that, pretty fun boss fight. Good design, and at this point this is when I was like, this guy might have a little bit too much health, but that is why I said before I see the complaint about people saying that with the bosses in this game. So on to the next one.
Yes!
Next on the list is Yatuga. He is here in this spot on the list just because he is a very good starting game boss. His moves are pretty telegraphed. The only ones that I would complain about are the ones where it doesn't even look like he's doing an attack. For example, he'll slam his fist into the ground and then he'll try and pull it out because it's stuck. If you're standing on his side where his arm comes out, when he places it back down by his side, you get damage, and I feel like that shouldn't really be an attack because it doesn't look like one. Other than that, he's got a lot of good moves for you to kind of learn the game with, like a couple command grabs, a couple moves that are really good to brink block, and when you do things like that, you can see his stamina go down. So really good sort of tutorial boss for the game. That's why he's at this spot, and very good fun fight. He does also have one later on called Yaturak, which is like a reskin of him, and he's much easier because you fight him much later on in the game. So this is probably why he's here in this spot, because he's not super unique, and he's just a good starting game boss. Next on the list we have the Blade Phantom. This is another really cool kind of start of the game boss. Teaches you a lot of good things about the game, about grabs and all that sort of thing. And I didn't actually take too long to beat him on my kind of first playthrough of the game. This is probably why he's quite high at the top as being not one of my favourites. He is really cool. He's got a lot of cool moves and things like that. He also has a really cool design. But overall, like fairly easy. Not too much to write home about apart from just teaching you the mechanics of the game, because it is a early game boss, so you can't expect too much from him. I was hoping you'd maybe fight him later on, like more powered up, but he is basically your partner, so probably wouldn't make sense doing that. But yeah, very fun fight with this boss, and I'm glad you actually get to fight him again when you fight the spirit that you can equip, which is probably the only spirit that I used throughout the entire game as well. Next on the list is Viper, pretty much here just in terms of difficulty and also shock factor for having a second phase. When I fought this guy for the first time, it took me a good while because I was struggling with his first phase, and once I beat that, I didn't actually realise he had a second phase, which was quite an interesting turn of events, and then he proceeded to kill me with a second phase because I had no healing items. But that's the beauty with these games. When you play these sort of games, like I've played loads of Souls games, loads of Souls-likes, all that sort of thing, and when you come across a really good Souls-like this game, you just appreciate everything about it. At this point, like my previous gripe, I would say he maybe had a little bit too much health, but when you learn your weapon, you just obliterate the bosses. You learn how to brink block everything, you learn how to dodge, you learn how to reflect their red attacks, all that sort of stuff, all the defensive mechanics you have, all the offensive mechanics you have with your skills. Make sure you use them because the skills are really good in this game, and that's how you get the damage. But in terms of Viper, really good moveset, really good difficulty, and the fact that it's a two-phase boss like that early on in the game. Like I know some bosses have like semi two phases where they go into like a different moveset halfway through their health bar, but he gets an entirely new health bar, so you're basically fighting two different bosses here, and it was so much fun to learn this boss and ultimately beat him. It was so good, so that's why he's here. He's basically a little bit higher just because of the fact that his difficulty is fun for me, and you'll see that in the top 3 or 4 that you'll see from this video. Next on the list we've got Shaktuka, which is the big plague lion thing that you fight in the jail. Really fun boss fight. The only issue I had with this fight was the elements again. The only thing that annoys me about this game is the fact that when you brink block something, you still take the elemental damage. So whether it's chaos or plague or whatever, as you see, brink blocking pretty much all of that, and I'm getting plague build up. That one wasn't a brink block, but still. Anyway, with Shaktuka, very fun moveset. Delayed attacks, but not too delayed. Like, I'm someone who likes really fast attacks because you can react to them, like this. He does have like a bunch of them where he jumps up in the air, or like this where they're a little bit delayed. But other than that, really fun boss fight. He has the plague moves. He does have like a pseudo second phase where he plagues up a bit more. But pretty much most of his moves are easy to brink block, easy to avoid. Very fun boss fight overall. Only took me a couple attempts to kill him. I think it was 2 attempts, just because I basically went unga bunga with a great sword and used all my crazy moves that I've accumulated at this point. Because as you guys can see, I don't know if you guys know the look of the armor that I'm wearing. It's the Chaos Ridden set, and it's a really good greatsword set, and it gives you the Volcanic Wrath ability, which is the really fast like sword slash move. And at this point I still wasn't using my skills effectively, but this is a boss that kind of makes you do it, so that you should use your skills and do damage to the boss, because otherwise you're going to get plagued and you're going to die, because plague is a really bad status effect. Other than that, very fun boss, really cool moves to deal with, and yeah, just overall good fight. Next on the chopping block is Hismar, another boss that only took me a couple attempts to beat, but very good boss design. He does have a little bit too much kind of visual noise with all the explosions and like debris and stuff that flies up at you. But another good boss where you, if you've mastered the brink block mechanic, you can basically brink block 99% of what he does. And the only bad thing about his fight, in my opinion, is you can hit his legs and things like that, but the game really wants you to attack his head, and you get very little time to do that. You have to basically charge an attack if you're a greatsword to reach his head. I've heard some people have really bad issues with like the spear, because there's not really much vertical attacks that you can do with the spear. I'm sure there's probably abilities and things that you can do, but this is also another boss as well where you can break his horns, which do massive damage and basically stagger him, which is another amazing mechanic, like I said previously, from the spider boss, left over from this. But other than that, his moves are fairly simple. All he does is really like claw you, do laser beams, and then he'll do like a chaos phase where he puts chaos on the ground and stuff like that. The only thing that did kind of initially get me with this fight was the fact that you need to be like right in front of his head to do the brutal attack. Other than that, really cool boss fight, and you can't beat a massive dragon in these sort of games. Well, you can, you have to kill him, but you can't beat having a massive dragon in one of these sort of Souls-like games. It's always fun to fight dragons, and it's always fun to slay them. So really cool boss design, and one of my favourite bosses at this point in the game. Okay. Next up we have Bellarine, another mage type boss in this game. Funny thing is, I was mentioning before Troka came up as a boss that we hadn't had any spellcaster bosses in this entire game, and then lo and behold we get so many in a row. She is actually a really cool boss fight though. The only thing that annoys me when I fight her is the fact she puts the shield on, and she can just wail on you while you're trying to break the shield, and she'll start casting loads of things on you like electrocution, so you're going to have status effects, fire. She does this thing where she sort of like covers the screen and blinds you so you can't see everything that's happening. Really strong boss. Funny thing is, she's probably one of the few that I actually beat first try. Like, she wasn't too difficult when she sort of figured out just avoid the slow spells, break her shield, and then just go crazy on her, because she doesn't seem to have as much health as other bosses. Other than that, her design's really cool. She does a lot of cool abilities, and if you bring in some like stamina, vitality spheres, things like that, and you just wail on her shield, and if you're someone who has like a spear or the dual blades, you're probably going to be able to do a lot more damage to her than I did in the short period of time that her shield's down. But she does summon other adds as well, like this big Grim Reaper thing, which makes the fight a tad bit harder because you're basically fighting two bosses at once. But you can avoid this, and the fight overall is just pretty cool for being spellcasters. Usually spellcasters in these sort of games are just a massive pain in the ass, but the spellcasters in Khazan, they've done them really well. They tend to try and get in close to you. They will back up and cast spells, obviously. However, when they are near you, they won't just try and run away, which is great, because you don't want a game where the spellcaster bosses are the most annoying thing. Like I said, there is only one boss that I dislike in this game, and it's the one at the very start of this list. Everything else is awesome, and she is a really fun boss fight. Next up, we have Princess Ilna, which is another spellcaster type boss. She starts off a physical phase, so she'll start basically assaulting you with this rapier here, and just do a bunch of really quick stab attacks. If you're good at brink blocking, I would use this to your advantage here, because you can drain her stamina quite quick. At this point, I was too focused on a lot of bosses delaying their attacks, so I was thinking she would maybe delay quite a few of them. But she just goes crazy. She is constantly stabbing you in this first phase. She will also use this in her magic phase as well, which she does about a third of her health, or about halfway through her health bar. And that's when she turns into like the mage battle, where she puts up a shield, she'll cast magic attacks at you. A lot of them are really heavily telegraphed in terms of like the really big damaging ones. So when she transitions here, she will basically do her first cast of the big orbs. She'll summon a choir, which is really cool, and she'll basically send out these big orbs, which, as you can see, really easy to avoid. This next move is also really easy to avoid, but I just stared at her here because I was trying to figure out what she was doing. This is really fast, as you can see, and just completely erases your health bar. So, not too bad a boss. She does have a lot of really fast moves, like all these other magic attacks that she'll do, but for the most part, she will build chaos, because a lot of the later bosses in this game build chaos just to kind of deplete your health faster. So, like, they're not killing you enough by stabbing you. Other than that, really cool boss. She does a lot of different magic attacks, a lot of ways to deplete her stamina. And good thing is, even when she's in her shield phase, when she brings up her bubble and basically protects herself, she drains her stamina quite a lot by actually using her own moves, which is good, because that makes sense from like a gameplay standpoint. The enemies are using their own abilities, so they should be using stamina too, which is a really cool addition that they do that, because if you didn't have that, you'd probably never deplete their stamina bar unless you were using the spear, because I've noticed the spear is really good at depleting stamina just with how much it attacks. But yeah, she is a really cool boss fight, and you can't really beat a mage boss fight that actually gets in your face and attacks you instead of running away. All the mage boss fights in Khazan are so good in my opinion, and you'll probably see that with the last 2 or 3 on this list. Next up on the list we have Elamine, and she is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to this boss fight. I don't know how many of you struggled with this. I didn't take too long to beat her, but she is an absolute crazy woman with her moves. As you can see, if you are not managing your stamina, she's going to grab you and do a ton of damage to you. She's going to electrocute you with her crazy moves here. She never lets up. She's constantly just swinging at you. She does a Captain America move where she throws her shield at you, and it's so cool. She is probably one of the most fun bosses to fight in this, because she doesn't feel like she has a crazy gimmick. When I did play this, it felt like she did with her shield, where if you block it, you have like a really big window where you can actually attack her, which is true, as you can see there. If she goes to attack you with her shield, if you brink block it, you can knock her back pretty easily. She does recover her stamina quite quick as well, so you need to be good with the brink blocks in this fight, in my opinion. If you're not, you're just going to get completely overrun with her crazy attack damage and things like that. I'm not sure how other builds deal with it. The Greatsword was pretty good at just blocking everything that she could do, and also dealing a lot of stamina damage with its big heavy attacks. But if you did run out of stamina, or you pushed your stamina a little bit too far, she would punish you heavily with that grab that she has. So make sure when you're doing this fight, You keep track of your stamina. When you stagger her, you make sure that you do amazing damage with your skills. Otherwise, you are going to be struggling with this boss fight. She is probably one of the most favourite bosses in this game in terms of her moveset, as you can pretty much see most of it coming, but it's just up to your reactions to either brink block or get out the way because of these moves where she'll just completely obliterate your stamina bar. Not sure how the other classes deal with Elamine because she is ridiculously fast and I can block quite a lot of her attacks or just wail on her with my huge greatsword. So if you use a different build to defeat Elamine, let me know how you dealt with her. But other than that, she's a really fun boss fight, probably one of the fairest in the game, and the fact that she punishes you for depleting your stamina makes you think how you play. And basically when I actually did the winning battle against her, she never grabbed me once. That shows you actually need to learn this boss fight and deal with her moves instead of just relying on a certain gimmick or just trying to cheese her in some certain way. You need to make sure you learn how Elamine works. Amazing boss fight. Next we have Scalpel, which is a really cool boss and the only boss in a Souls-like to ever jump scare me. Oh shit! What? Yep, by this point in the game you would expect to be not surprised by every boss having some sort of second phase. But when you actually fight him, he does sort of have a second phase in his first phase if you let him. And it kind of does remind me of the Great Ape fight from Sekiro where he basically just grabs his head and then starts screaming at you with his severed head. This was one of the most fun boss fights just because of that little gimmick. But yeah, like I said, he does actually have a second phase within his first phase if you let him do it. He has like a big coffin attack that he does where he rides the coffin essentially like a surfboard and will do a bunch of attacks. If you don't knock him off of it, he will get this really powerful second phase within his first one. So if you let him do that quite a lot, you're probably not going to get to see his second phase, like his proper one where he goes into the coffin. And the good thing is, when you actually do get to that phase, all you need to do is run away, because that's what I did. Because his health will constantly drain during that phase. All you need to do is run away from him, because his health will drain over time. And with that, you just need to throw a spear when his health gets to 0. And that's him gone. That's the way I did it when I did this fight. His first phase is really fun to fight. I would probably not try and actually physically fight his second phase, just because of the fact that when you get to that point, you're probably drained of resources. And every attack he does will be inflicted with Plague. Whereas when you see it in other fights, when you're brink blocking all the attacks, the Plague will still get through your brink block, unless you have some sort of Plague resistance potion or items equipped. But I didn't have that at this point, so I just had to make do with what I had. Really cool boss fight. The fact he jump scared me is the reason why he is this high on the list. His attacks are pretty fun to deal with as well once you get the timing down, because he's another boss that does delay quite a lot of his attacks. But yeah, he's one of my favourite bosses because of the reason that he jump scared me. I hope you guys enjoy this boss fight, because it is a very fun boss fight to do. Hey! Defeat Scalpel. Fuck you, Scalpel. Now we're getting into my top favourite bosses of this entire game. Maluka being one of them. He is such an amazing boss. When you first fight him, you're like, oh, this boss is easy. But he absolutely wrecks you with his damage and his somewhat delayed but also not delayed attacks. He does recover his stamina really fast as well, which is quite annoying because at this point in the game you're still kind of learning and you're like, he should be dying a lot quicker than this. And as you can see, he does have a second phase. But unlike other bosses, he doesn't regen his entire health. He stops kind of where he is. And this second phase is so unbelievably good. When I figured out how the mechanic works to like stop him from attacking you with his basically Virgil attack, when he puts the katana into the sheath and then unsheaths it and attacks you immediately, I was just in love with this boss fight overall. So many cool attacks. When you learn the mechanic like this, you're just a god at the game. You just basically stop him from attacking you no matter what, and you just completely trounce this boss fight. He does also regen health, which I never noticed until now. Really cool boss, very fun moveset. The fact that you can brink block pretty much all of his attacks. He is the very first boss that builds up chaos as well, so an entirely new mechanic by this point in the game. And when you see that and your health depletes because of the chaos when he hits you with his Virgil attack where he teleports to you, that does a lot of chaos build-up, so when you brink block that, it doesn't do as much, and it stops him in his tracks. He'll do it 3 times, basically, and if you get the timing down for each of them, you're just going to completely stagger him, completely drain his health by using all your crazy skills and moves that you've got at this point. But yeah, he is probably one of my favourite bosses at that point in the game. He does get swept out a little bit by the upcoming bosses that you're about to see, just because of the fact that the experience I had with them was so much crazier. But for like a mid-game type boss, Maluka is probably one of the perfectly designed bosses in this game. Yes! Literally mastered that fight. Defeat Maluka. Okay, so the battle for the top 3 was quite difficult for me to choose. I'm not great at making lists and choosing top 10s and things like that. But I've got to give the 3rd spot to my girl Trocka. She is an absolutely amazing boss fight. She is also the very first mage boss that you run into, and this was a very big stopping block for me with the greatsword. I actually thought I would have to switch to a different weapon. Doing this entire fight with the greatsword makes you probably the most patient person on the planet. She is a proper mage, she still will come in and attack you. She does have a crazy amount of different abilities she does as well, and I'm going to show you a few of them throughout this that pretty much broke me the entire time I played this. The first roadblock with this boss fight was her second phase, air quotes, because she doesn't change or anything like that. It's just she does different moves. This one right here threw me through a loop when I first did this boss fight. Constantly, I was trying to figure out what the jellyfish actually did. And one of the guys from the stream pointed out that the jellyfish touched the blue ones. I was trying to do that, but it was more the actual ability to dodge all these projectiles, which are pretty much the things that will kill you. So what you usually do is you run into a blue jellyfish. It powers you up with stamina, and you can just dodge and run past all the projectiles, which is great. She does crazy different moves during this fight as well. So once you figure out her first phase, you need to quickly acclimatize to her second phase, because she changes the timings of things up. So if you've been struggling with this part, you're going to really struggle with the second part of it. Not sure how other builds deal with this. One of the people from my stream, they use spear, and they didn't have too much of a trouble with this boss fight. If I'd maybe looked into my moves a bit better, the skills that I could have acquired by this point probably would have made this fight a little bit better. I do love the fact that this fight took me so long though, because it actually allowed me to pretty much master the greatsword and be a lot more patient with it, which is really good because you do need patience with the greatsword with how slow it can be at times. But Trocka is an amazing boss fight. She does so many different varied moves. You can't just basically brink block everything, because that is one of the main things I was doing up until this point. She basically forced me to stop doing that and just either avoid the attack or just be patient and play around the attack, which is what I had to do to beat her. Amazing boss fight, amazing moves, the music kept you going, all that sort of good stuff. She's absolutely one of the best bosses, and I thought I would never say that about a mage boss, but she is one of the best bosses in this entire game, and she taught me how to actually play the game better. Yeah! Return of the Witch, defeat Trocka. I killed her with a parry. We're coming to the end of the list, and you guys can probably guess who the last one's going to be with this entry right here. This boss fight, Reese, she is absolutely an amazing boss fight, and I'm going to let you hear one of the reasons why. Just everything about this boss fight sings the praises of this game. The music, the abilities that Reese uses, the fact that she has multiple phases and she transitions her moveset throughout the entire boss battle. The fact that it breaks the mold in terms of like what you want to do with the spells. For example, Trocka, the previous boss that I mentioned, you can't brink block anything that she does because the frost damage will just go right through your defense and hurt you. Whereas if you brink block Reese's attacks, they will go straight back at her. So it brings like an entire new functionality to this fight. And when you figure that out, it's actually like your third eye's opened and you can just do crazy things to this boss fight. The fact she moves around so much, she is a proper mage really, because she does try and stay away from you, and she'll cast a lot of spells that linger and will do damage to you while you're trying to attack her. So she can be quite annoying in terms of like those sort of abilities, but the overall fight with her, the fact that she transitions to an even stronger version of herself and then into a third technical phase within that second phase, so good. This boss fight is like 10 out of 10. The only reason this isn't number 1 is because of the next boss you're about to see, and you will see exactly why that is my favourite boss in this entire game. Yes! Faded Memories defeat Reese. Holy shit! Oh, she was such a fun boss. Oh. My heart can't take this anymore. These bosses put such a big smile on your face when you do them. They're so fun. They don't feel like cheap at all. They just feel so good. And finally, we have the absolute powerhouse that is Ozma. This boss has not 1, not 2, but 3 phases, and this shocked me like crazy. I spent probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours fighting this guy straight. Just no breaks, just going at him. And when you actually do beat every phase, they all get their own separate health bar. Thankfully, the final phase is literally just you need to stagger him with his bar, but it is very easy to do so. And you basically just need to brutal attack him 3 times, and then you win the fight. This does only seem to happen when you do the true ending as well, which I was surprised I even managed to get on my first playthrough. But I explored like everything in the game, made sure I got all the collectibles. And when I selected an option, it was find the truth or know the truth or something like that, because I wanted to know what the hell happened. This boss fight is insane. Like, literally, there's no other way to describe this boss fight. Just absolute insanity. The first and the second phase have completely different movesets, so if you've learned his first phase entirely and you're like, I can beat this fairly easily, forget all that when you go into the second phase. He has a completely different moveset. Good thing is, when you get to the third phase, if you get to that point, all the moves are sort of similar. You just need to basically stagger him, hit him 3 times with the brutal attacks, and then you win. However, his second phase does have a lot of really strong moves and really different moves, grabs and things like that as well, which will drain your resources really fast. And if you're not able to basically deflect these powerful moves that you just saw, that is going to cause trouble when you get to the third phase, because that is required to basically break his guard and beat him. The boss fight is absolutely mental. So much chaos damage as well. If you don't have any chaos cleanse potions, make sure you're utilizing your phantom form, because that actually can take the chaos away. Not much else I can say about this fight apart from it's probably my favorite boss fight in the entire Souls-like genre. The fact that this boss fight has 3 phases, and I was absolutely shook when he pulled out his third phase when I had no healing items the first time. And the fact that I fought this guy for about 2 hours straight, went and got myself some chocolate on the last attempt just because I was like, I can only do 1 or 2 more attempts and then I'm done. And then I actually beat him. It shows that maybe getting a little bit of sugar during one of these boss fights can help you concentrate a little bit more. Thank you so much for watching this boss ranking, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, this is my personal guide just because I tend to like more difficult bosses, and a lot of these bosses in this ranking close to the top are just ones that really taught me more about the game, made me struggle a little bit, made me sweat for like a good couple hours. But this game has been amazing, probably one of my favourite in the entire Souls-like genre. And yeah, I would 100% recommend this game to anybody. So if you haven't played this game yet, you're kind of spoiling yourself by watching this boss ranking. But make sure you buy this game. If you're enjoying it yourself, let me know what your build is. Let me know who you struggled on, who was easy for you, because these sort of games, there's always something that's easy for someone and really hard for someone else. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Yes! Yes!